Okay. So we started talking about 5 languages of love. You ever heard about this? Basically, each one of us recognizes certain actions as love, interprets them as love, and others are not as love. Number 1, language of love is words of affirmation, which means that you give someone a compliment. You say something nice to him. You build them up, bring them up. Number 2 is giving gifts. If you give someone a gift, obviously, it's an expression of love. Number 3 is quality time. You spend time together. If you spend time together with me, talking to me, drop everything, turn off your phone, don't get distracted, then you love me. If not, then no. Number 4 is acts of service. If you make for me a chicken soup when I'm sick, when you make for me a good supper, when you make my bed, or you clean the house for me, you do laundry. For a man, you clean the gutters, you take out garbage.
Support.
Take out garbage. Not general support. You go to work. No. That's not act of love. That's given. You have to.
Responsibility.
You have to do that. No one's gonna say that you love because you're working. Yes, responsibility. But if you're doing things around the house, you're doing things that maybe you could have done less. Maybe you didn't have to do it. You do it. That means that you love. Even if you just you wash dishes once in a while, that you didn't have to do it. I mean, in some cultures, every man has to wash dishes. The wife cook. Which culture? I understand. Not our culture.
American.
Not our culture. But anyway, the wife has to cook the supper, and the man has to wash dishes after, clean and wash. Welcome. You look good today.
I wonder what my wife's reaction would be if I cooked and made her wash the dishes. She'll tell me never cook again.
So how many did we mention so far? 4. Number 5 is physical touch. When you're getting physical, you're touching. And we're not talking about sexual things. Just because that's also, so to speak, a given. Of course, obviously it's love. I mean, how else can you interpret it? But it's just like you just came in, I went like this. That means physical touch.
Like affection.
But we discovered right now that there's 5 affections. Again, let's review them again. Number 1 is words of affirmation when I give you a compliment. Number 2 is quality time. We spend time together. Just talking to each other. No one is in a rush to run somewhere. Number 3 is gifts. Number 4 is
going out of your way to do something.
Acts of
kindness.
service.
Right.
Service. And number 5 is physical touch.
This is the 5 love languages?
5 love languages. You've heard of
Out to
it?
the book now. Yeah.
There's a book like that.
It's poisoning people's minds left and right.
No.
Which nice.
Listen.
I don't know really.
Why is it important? I mean, it just for you who's not married, it just means that there is so much more you're gonna have to do for your wife.
I see.
Not one thing, 5 things.
I see.
You know what for married men it means? You know how important this information is?
It's life and death.
It's life and death. Why? Because
Life and death.
you have to understand your wife's. You have to understand your own love
Happy
language,
wife, happy life.
Yeah.
and you have to understand your wife's love language.
How is it some say your love language?
Your own, I'll tell you how. But the main, or even more important, is your wife's love language. Why? Because what is love? What's the definition of love? All of these 5 things are nice. If you do them at any time, you did something positive. So what is that crucial point about love language? Is that if you don't do it,
You're lacking.
meaning since your wife interprets it as love, but you don't interpret it as love, and you don't do it, then you're sending a message that you don't love. that you don't love her. For example,
I was joking. I did. When I learned about this, I was very interested about it.
oh, thank you very much. Good. I like that.
But it happens to be women.
I like when a man tells the truth. That's what I like.
But it happens to be women happen to be very into it. That's what I did find.
No, women are not into this. They appreciate love. They thrive on love, not like us. Like for example,
Right.
I'll tell you, my love language is acts of service. Acts of service. In other words, if someone helps me, you like gifts, for example, I don't like. I don't interpret it as love. Physical touch, not necessarily. Words of affirmation, I like when people give me compliments, and acts of service. So, if, for example,
Rabbi, is there people that don't like compliments?
some people just, my wife, for example,
Patronize.
if I give her a compliment, she like laughs it away. It doesn't
Minimizes
And
it.
they feel
minimize
awkward.
it. Yeah, we feel awkward. It's not love. For me, no matter how much compliments you give, I always feel good. Now, you could all, I ask each one of you, you could also open up and you could tell me things that other people will not understand. For example, gifts for some people. So, some people, let's say you come, you don't give them a gift. It's his birthday, it's her birthday, it's some kind of occasion. You don't bring it before Shabbat. It drives them crazy because they're not, you're just not a loving person. But to you, maybe gifts doesn't mean anything. I think in our family, this is my cousin. I don't know in your family. My family, gifts were not such a big thing.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a give, and like my mom would always tell me, you have to know how to accept the gift. You know, I'm like, no, I don't need it. No, what are you doing? Like, like I'd feel uncomfortable taking, like for example, or like if somebody would, like
By
my
us, we had
grandfather,
a wrong approach to gift.
It's a little different, right?
We don't like give. We don't give, and we don't like taking. I think we have like a psychological problem with that. But anyway,
Like, you gotta go earn. Like, if you want something, you go get it. It's like you have to earn it. Or,
right.
Right.
But acts of service by us, for our fathers,
Oh my God, of course.
you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to. You have to perform. You have to do in the family. You have to do things.
My dad especially, like when it comes to like service, like our grandfather, for example, he was nonstop with her, like to a point where like it impeded on his own relationship, at home, but
Right.
he has to take care of his mother, he has to take care of his father, he has to, he'll go out of his way, he'll do something, he won't come home for dinner, like I remember, like if someone needed help, someone needed something, he's always there, always.
So I discovered one of the things that how do you figure out your love language, what speaks to you?
There's a test now. You do it online.
Okay, everything's online. Yeah, you could figure this out. But whatever you find yourself doing to, let's say, your wife, and you're doing like overly, very often we do it because
Compensate.
we're projecting that if I will do it, I will get it back.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, I see.
So you're sending a signal.
You
Like-
want it. By the way, love, whatever we interpret as love, we cannot survive without it. It's oxygen. It's our lifeblood.
So is it like if I'm constantly doing the dishes, it's like, oh, I want her to sweep the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Молодец.
Something like that. That like that, right?
Yes.
I gotta pay attention to myself.
Приятный ряд. I'm gonna get more gemaras for next time. I'm gonna get more gemaras. If for now, maybe you could share.
No, it's okay. I'll listen.
No, why don't you share one and you could share one? Or we could,
Yeah, I could share
By
with
the way,
him.
you should pick it up.
Or you could share with him.
It's
That's
cutting
fine.
it's
Yeah, I'll
cutting
share.
off the head.
So, one of the things that we could benefit by being aware, by understanding whatever our love language of our life is that
Towards me 2 inches.
we could not waste time in the language which is our language, but not necessarily her language, and we will be just shooting the wrong target.
Not in the shot.
We're gonna be wasting our time of speaking the language that the other person does not understand.
Yeah, but it takes years to find out what your partner's language is, right? And what you should work on, like where you're lacking, so she could relate on those levels. You follow what I'm saying? Like if you're lacking, let's say in 2 out of the 5, and she's yearning for those 2 or something. Like it'll take time for you to develop that relationship to know where you need to work on or how you should express yourself more based on her inputs, like based on what she's lacking from you.
So like if you're lacking in acts of service and she wants acts of service,
Let's say you're, like,
What
if
can
you're
I
lacking
ask you
compliments, for
this? You're
example.
saying it takes years to find out. Why can't you just talk to her and find and ask her? Explain this
Girls
concept.
don't know how
to
to explain themselves right.
Hold up. Don't talk to her. Explain this concept to her.
That's sexist.
Explain
Massage.
the 5 things.
Massage.
Explain that different people relate to different things and interpret each one of them as love. And ask her, let her think. Most probably she'll give you answers on the spot. If not, then over a couple of hours, she'll think about it. She'll open everything up. She wants you to know her love language, because otherwise it's misunderstanding. It's incongruent. They're not in sync with each other. She wants more than anything else. Okay. So now, B'ezrat Hashem, everyone's going to be working on it. Now, Misha, I want you to work on it also.
for sure.
Same thing to you. And now we're going to start the gemara. We said last time that we're going to review. I want to go back to 2 dots, Tanu Rabbanan, Nitkalkel, and so on. Do you have it, Misha?
Where is it? What is it?
Right.
That's the wide angle.
Rabbanan?
Wide angle.
No, next to
Some practicing his district.
No, даже не это.
Wide angle.
Tanu Rabbanan.
Everything. Right now, everything. So I get used to my equipment and then.
So you're like practicing.
Yeah.
Okay, Rabbatai. We are discussing concept of nitkalkel as it relates to Malkot. Nitkalkel means he became disgraced. How did he become disgraced? There's 2 ways that he became disgraced. He soiled his pants. In other words, as we put up this guy to get Malkot, 39 Malkot, and sometimes it's less because he's a weaker person. If he makes in his pants, we say he is patur. He is exempt. He doesn't get malkot. Tanu Rabbanan, our rabbis taught, echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha b'rei. First word on line is echad.
Bet, Amish, bet.
No, chav gimel amud aleph. Lower down. First word ha'ish.
Yeah, I see it. Ha'ish Bria.
Yeah, ha'ish b'rei v'ha'ish. No, sorry, one line above that. Echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha b'rei v'lo b'mayim. Divrei Rabbi Meir. What does it mean? Echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha b'rei. But it means either man. Echad also could mean either man or woman. Echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha, whether man or woman, b'rei, if they made number 2, patur. V'lo b'mayim, divrei Rabbi Meir. And not with water. Now water over here means what? Urine. And it means lo b'mayim. Meaning, if they made number 1, they're not patur from malkot. Yes.
Made number 1 meaning what?
Not official service.
They get malkut for that?
No malkot.
Oh, no.
A guy gets a sentence to malkot and he has to get 39 malkot.
Oh, and he makes.
And he makes it either before we hit him or
Oh.
while we
What
hit
if
him.
it's on purpose?
Then patur. He did it on purpose, thank you very much.
What if it's on purpose?
He made it on purpose, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But it says over here, v'lo b'mayim. Rabbi Meir maybe holds like you, thank you very much. He says, only if he made number 2, number 1 that doesn't work. Because of that reason, right? But not everyone, we don't pass like him. We pass him, we'll see that in a minute. Rabbi Yehuda says, ha'ish b'rei v'ha'isha b'mayim. The Yehuda says a man is only patur if he made number 2. Woman, even if she only made number 1. Okay, so it's already machloket. V'chachamim omrim, and whenever it says in the Gemara, chet, chaf, aleph, first two words, chet, chaf means chachamim omrim, chachamim, and aleph means omrim. Meaning rabbis say, echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha, ben berei, ben b'mayim. Whether man, whether woman, ben berei, ben b'mayim means whether it's number 1, whether it's number 2. So we pass like chachamim, that
Most lenient.
most lenient, that either way it's good. Patur from alcohol. So far it's good. Va'atanya, Gemara asks the question, Va'atanya will learn in the Braita, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Rabbi Yehuda says, Echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha berei. Rabbi Yehuda in the Braita says, whether it's man, whether it's woman, berei, they have to be number 2. In other words, only number 2 paters. Only number 2 exempts. But Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, 3 lines above that, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ha'ish berei va'isha b'mayim. Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah, it's a contradiction. Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah says, man, berei with number 2, and ha'isha b'mayim, and woman, number 1. In other words, at least a woman gets away with number 1. But in the Braita, Rabbi Yehuda says, Echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha berei, whether man, whether woman, berei, which would be indicative that a woman does not go out with mine. So there's a contradiction. In the Braita, in the Mishnah, a woman, according to Rabbi Yehuda, could go home with if she just makes number 1. But in the Braita, no. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak shnehem shavim berei. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, no, when it says in the Braita that man and woman berei, it means shnehem shavim berei. They both equally go out with rei. But not that the woman does not go out with mine. Now, there's no contradiction between Mishnah and the Braita. Really, woman also goes out to Braita, like it says in the Mishnah. But what does it mean in the Braita, man and woman berei?
That means that they're both disqualified from getting malkot, but at the same time, women also might.
Right, because in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda said like this: Ish berei, isha b'mayim.
Right.
You could misinterpret it and say b'mayim v'lo berei. In other words, when it says a woman with number 1,
but doesn't that kal v'chomer mean number 2?
There's a kal v'chomer. Very good.
You could do number 2. Definitely number 1, right?
Yes. If number 2 exempts you, so number 1 also exempts you. I agree with you guys. But
Not the other way around.
The other way around. I mean,
If
he's
number one-
more.
If number 1, then
Yeah, if
different.
number
number 2
1
exempts because it's more of a disgrace.
Right. If number 1 disgrace, you definitely number 2 disgrace.
Number disgraces you. However, it's mashma that there would be havamina. Who knows what havamina
Where
is?
do I know this from?
No, havamina means initial thought. Initial. Havamina means I would think so, but at the end it's not so. I would think that woman, for her, more disgrace is mine. That's why the Buddha say
More
Shabbat is
disgrace
grace.
is mine for women? Why? Because of the menstrual cycle or something? Like, is that a reference to the water or whatever? The fluid?
Some I don't know. I can explain it. I don't know.
What was the logic behind it? I mean, for a woman, it's more. Okay.
So one is more sensitive, Rashi have.
No, but it's not. It's the perception of the woman in front of everyone watching.
I think the woman would be disgraced in any case, whether
Of
number
course,
2 or number
I-
1. Why would number 1 be more of a disgrace?
Yeah, I don't follow. Maybe because of. I
That's
mean-
one opinion, right?
That's one opinion. Yeah. It's one opinion, but this opinion, what do they hold? I mean, Rabbi Yehuda has to make a statement. Man and woman in go away number 2. There is a specific, so to speak, chidush that kamashma. It teaches you that even number 2 woman is also, which would mean that I wouldn't know it. But number 1, I know it from the Mishnah. So he has to come back and tell me number 2 also. If he has to come back, but don't think that only number 1 but for a woman, but number 2 also, that means that I would think that the woman does not go home with number 2, right? But I don't know why. If it's a couple of like you said.
Yeah, I think it's obvious.
But they're clarifying this, so maybe some wasn't.
Just for sake of clarity.
We don't understand women's psychology. For us, for example, we know number 2 is much worse than number 1, right? For men.
I mean, either one is pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, like.
But in Russia, if you had to say someone is really like low health, you use number 2, right?
Yeah, what's worse? Kako se ljubi se.
Yeah. So we understand.
I mean,
However, we don't know what.
But maybe with the number 2, it's like sometimes you just can't hold it, like it's your body. But with B, like you should hold it. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. It's a little bit.
It's
Hit
possible.
with a whip, so he's really.
Because like with number 2, it's like it can be like you're sick. You know, sickness can lead to that or something like that. You know, maybe you ate something bad. But with this, you know, most people should.
Yeah, I hear that. That's a good point. But I think there is also woman's psychology is also involved over here. Maybe our gemara is telling us something about women's psychology, which we don't understand.
Yeah.
What's the thing we need clarifying? Because I'm not sure what we're clarifying at this point.
But a question: where does
Why is the brighter bringing up number 2
For a woman.
for women? Isn't it obvious?
Okay, let's.
It's coming to exclude number 1.
That's the initial thinking, but the clarification comes in to say, no, number 1 is obvious, we're saying number 2 also.
By a woman also. Okay, so it's a chidush. It's called a chidush in the gemara.
Yeah, I know, but it's really a huge.
Our Shmuel said, "Kaftuhu v'ratz mebed din patur." If they tied him before they give malchut, they tie him. But somehow he untied himself and he ran away. Patur. The guys are laughing because you're probably thinking, "Very good." So I'll just untie myself and I'll just run away.
It sounds like
Easy
the way,
way out.
it sounds like the way the Muslims do like stoning. Like the woman they bury up until, if a woman has to get stoned, they bury her up until her neck. The man, they bury him up until his torso, till his belly. If you get out, then God didn't want you to get, killed, like stoned that day. Obviously, what's easier to, like a man is stronger, he has more upper body strength, right? The woman, they bury her to her neck. Where are you going? You're not going anywhere,
Forget about it, yeah.
So,
It's a death sentence.
I mean, it sounds like,
Literally.
like for the
you
guy,
don't need to stone anybody. Once you bury them up to the neck, they'll just die in 2 minutes.
right, yeah, no, but like the whole purpose is kind of like to keep you still,
The soil, every time you breathe, the soil collapses slowly until you can't breathe at all.
Uh-huh.
I see. Okay. Wow. Okay, guys, let's go. I'm gonna get too scared. Let's go on. Let's link Gemara without this horror what Muslims do.
So we
Right.
later on discuss what Muslims do and the horror of them all and what we think about it.
In the Gemara, somehow all these things they come out differently. They cleaner. They teach you compassion. Let's go on. Medvei. So again, we just said that if a person, by the way, don't laugh. It's only the beginning of the sugya. We're gonna get into it. In other words, right now we're saying that if they tied him and he untied himself, ran away, he's patur. Medvei, we're asking a kasha question. Kala, if he made ben berishona, ben b'shniya, potrinotom. Who can tell me what's ben berishona, ben b'shniya mean?
Whether number 1 or whether number 2.
No. Number 1, number 2 is English or
Or in
Russian.
the beginning, or
Rishona means first one, or Shniya second one. It means first hit or second
Oh,
hit.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it says like this. That it says in the bright. This is bright. Oh, after Medvei, usual Medvei means we're asking strong kasha.
We learned, right? Nathan means we learned.
No, Medvei means we're asking
Oh, we're
kasha
asking
question.
Uh-huh.
And it says in the bright, and we're bringing it from the Braita, and we're going to be asking on the case that Rav Huna just said, when they tied him, Shmuel just said, they tied him and he untied him and he ran away. We're going to be asking on that case, from the case of if he made. What's the connection? I don't see it yet, but we'll see it soon. It says like this, Kala, if he made, Ben Berishana, whether at the first hit. Now what does it mean at the first hit? Before the first hit. In other words, when he went like that,
Right.
when he went like this, he already made. He didn't even get anything, he already made. Ben b'shniya, or he hit him, and when he was about to give second one, he made patur. Okay. Nifsikar, Bride continues. Nifsikar tzua, b'shniya potrinoto, b'rishona en potrinoto. If the whip broke or ripped, nifsika has like hefsek. Hefsek means a interruption. A whip ripped. B'shniya potrinoto. After the first hit, before the second hit, he goes home. Barishana en potrinoto. Before the first hit, it ripped. We don't exonerate him. We don't exempt him.
So he cleans himself up and goes back again.
So
We're talking about
before he got in the first time, he's exonerated.
Which case?
Before you hit him the first time, if the whip broke, he's exonerated.
No, opposite.
Oh.
It said no. It said like nifsikar tzua b'shniya potrinoto. If it's the second hit, we exonerate. Barishana en potrinoto. But the first hit we don't exonerate. In other words, like this. We had how many cases in the Braita we had? So one is a patur of making, and over there we did not distinguish between first or second. Any time a person made, even if we didn't even yet hit him once, he is patur. And patur of ripping of the whip. And over there we made a distinction. It's only patur if it ripped after we already hit him initial hit, one hit. But if we didn't hit him even once, he's not patur from ripping. By the way, why is it like that? Rashi says, if when he picked it up second time to hit him, we exonerate him. Because he already got a little bit of embarrassment with the first hit. But if before we hit him, even once it got ripped, we don't exonerate him because he didn't get any embarrassment.
Why? The grabbing the pants is still embarrassment?
No, we're talking about ripping.
No, this isn't pooping anymore.
Oh.
In the pants, we say whenever it happened, even if he didn't get anyone hitting his pocket. Why? Because he already got embarrassed.
Wait, why is the hitting embarrassment? I thought the punishment was the actual hit.
The pain, you're saying.
Yeah. Embarrassment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be embarrassed if I'm getting hit. Like I'm just feeling.
Because remember where it's done? It's done in a town square with all the people watching.
No, but does it mean embarrassment
And
or
they're
pain?
reading Musar as it's happening.
Oh.
So it's like an event.
It's embarrassing.
Oh,
If someone
that's how
publicly
it does
hitting
it?
you, and you can't do anything
It's
about
like
it.
in the back room somewhere where you get whipped.
No,
and you feel like,
okay,
you know.
public hitting, bam, fine, but you know, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, there's
The
probably
reading
everyone
Musar-
you're ever gonna like interact with in your life is
Yeah.
watching. You know what I mean? 'Cause
I get
They
that's-
take it on your shirt and they plug you. So again, so it says like this. As far as making pants, he's patur right away because he already got embarrassed. That is all. But ripping of the whip is not an embarrassment in itself. Can you imagine? If anything, it's the opposite of embarrassment. Why is ripping of the whip opposite of embarrassment?
Because it makes them like more. Like, you see that God didn't want me to, or like you don't have remorse.
It's like
You get more like relax.
relax.